Afternoon, everyone. This is Nitin Ramachandra from the NR Sports Show. This is episode 891. I'm joined by a really special guest. Her name is Jordyn Erard Coupe. She's a sports content creator, video creator, a sports host, and she has a podcast called Onside Shakes with her co-host Kaylee. Go check them out on all social media formats. They do a great job, and Jordyn herself, she does a great job. She talks football all the time, and she went to Rowan University for college, and really looking forward to this interview. And Jordyn, first of all, thank you for joining the show, and how are you and your family doing?
Thank you so much for having me on, and we're doing good. Getting very excited for the football season, excited everything's ramping back up. So it's the best time of the year.
Yeah. So I want to start off with your childhood growing up. What was that like? And when did you decide that you want to be in the sports industry? And did you get to play any sports growing up before choosing your route right now?
So I'm probably the most unathletic person. I shouldn't say that. I was a dancer growing up. So I was athletic, but just in different ways. I didn't play team sports or anything like that. But my family's a diehard football watching family. We're kind of split. My dad's a Washington football fan. My mom is diehard Eagles. So my family's kind of split down the middle with who they root for. So just kind of growing up in that environment, football Sundays were always super important, especially when the Eagles play Washington. Those days are intense. But so I always grew up around that. How I kind of got into this position that I'm in now, I was really into photography and video, and I got into TV production while I was in high school and started going down that road. And I kind of took my love for watching football, and I was like, I can kind of combine my two passions and turn this into a career.
Wow.
So devoted all my undergrad studies to doing that. Worked at NFL Films, had an internship there, and it's kind of just spiraled into everything that it is now.
Wow, that's amazing. And for you, who did you look up to in the sports industry? Obviously with women in sports, but who do you look up to? Because you remind me of a Krista Thompson and Erin Andrews.
Thank you. I grew up watching Erin Andrews, so she's someone I love. I think more recently, Kay Adams, who's the host of Good Morning Football. I just love her just because she's just so genuine, and I love how a lot of times on the talk shows, especially not really Erin Andrews as much because she's out doing her own thing, but on the talk shows, I feel like a lot of the time the women are just kind of there to guide the conversation. But Kay sits at the table with all the guys, and she gives her own takes and advice, and that kind of stuff is what I really look up to. So I think she's my biggest inspiration.
Well, yeah. So I watch that show all the time, by the way. I'm big.
I love it.
Actually, Nate Burleson was on the show last year, so it was an honor talking to him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I want to ask you though, what were the main things that you learned in high school that got you ready for college? What were the main things that you learned in high school?
So high school, it's funny. I really didn't take high school that seriously. And it's crazy because once I got to college, my whole life was school and classes, and I really didn't do much of anything else. But high school, it was more me focusing on my passions, on like my side hobbies, which I, in a weird way, did set me up for college because I went to school studying all of the things that I loved most. And I think that's why I loved my classes so much and why I loved learning everything, because it was exactly the direction that I wanted to go in. So I think more in high school, just figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, that set me up great for college, because then I could devote all my time to that. And when you're in college and you're devoting all your time to building your career, you're networking, you're meeting all sorts of people, and you're setting yourself up to kind of build that lifelong job. So I still miss college all the time. I loved college.
Yeah. So speaking of Rowan, I have a couple of friends that go there in Rowan right now, and that's a great college. And what take me to your college process before choosing Rowan. What other other colleges that you were interested, but what made you choose Rowan?
I actually, when I was graduating high school, I was sitting and I was like, the only place, because at that point I wasn't even thinking of being in front of the camera. I really wanted to do TV production. I wanted to be behind the camera. So at that point I was like, the place to do that is New York City. I was like, the only place I want to be is New York City. So I applied to 3 schools all in the city. I got into all of them. I ended up choosing Marymount Manhattan, which is
Wow.
a small liberal arts school on the Upper East Side. And I went there for my freshman year, lived in Manhattan, loved everything about it. And the school itself was great. I could have gotten a great TV production education, but I knew in my gut and in my heart I wanted to work in sports. And their focus was more, it was more creative. It was more television and film. That was the direction they were going. So it would have been a good education, but just not strictly in exactly the field I wanted to go in. And I was doing research. I was talking to my parents, and Rowan was creating this whole sports communication and media program. And my mom was like, I think you should come home and do this, because Rowan's about 40 minutes from me.
Mm.
So I never really considered it. And it ended up being the best decision I ever made, because I actually triple majored while I was there. So yeah, I ended up graduating with 3 degrees. So I got to be well versed in everything. I was taking classes in all aspects of media, so it just made me very well rounded. Got to meet some incredible people, and it was overall awesome.
Man, Jordyn, that is amazing. Good for you.
Thank you.
Congrats on that. Um, that's you're a hardworking woman. And speaking of balancing, you told me before the show you had you work 5 jobs. How do you balance all that out? Even working with as a sports host.
Yeah, so mainly right now it's my one thing that like brings in the money. I'm a server, I waitress at a sports bar.
Okay.
And that's kind of just been the staple that got me through college, and that's kind of still what's getting me through. And then other than that, I started my YouTube channel, and it's led from one thing to another. Now I'm hosting all these shows. I'm a TikTok content creator. I'm doing sports betting advice and fantasy advice. So it's more, and the mindset I have going into it, it's the more people see me and hear me on all different platforms, just the bigger it can grow. So it's kind of that grind right now, working for so many different people, learning as much as I can, trying to figure out all platforms, see exactly what works and what doesn't, and just kind of taking it from there. So it's organized chaos right now, because I have everything kind of scheduled out where it works, but it's definitely chaos. And I'm just trying to figure out and find that one thing that sticks for long term.
So take us through how hard is it? It's like whenever you do like the video content and the other like the TikTok stuff, how hard is it to put out content every day? Tell us how hard is it for you?
It's exhausting. And especially there are days where I find it very important, especially being in the media and having people see my face all the time. I like to be very transparent. So there are days where I'm just having a crappy day, and it's hard for me to sit in front of a camera and be super bubbly. Like there are days where I'm just super worn down, and I like to show people that side of things too. So like everyone knows, like it's totally normal. It's normal life, but it's definitely exhausting. But at the same time, I love it, and I love doing it. The hardest part is being a girl and having to do my hair and makeup. That's literally the part I like. I wish I could just wake up and get out of the shower and sit down and do it. But unfortunately, that's my least favorite part. Once that's out of the way and I'm sitting in front of my mic with the camera on, it's fun and it's easy, but it's kind of just the getting ready that takes a toll on me that I hate.
You should hire someone to do your stuff, your makeup and all.
I know. My sister's going to school for like being a medical esthetician. She does skincare, she does makeup. I'm like, can you just be my makeup person and just get me ready so I don't have to do it? We'll team up.
That'd be awesome, sister.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you though, take us through your experience with NFL film, because I think that's a great way. If anyone is trying to go into the sports industry, I think that's a great way to start off, because NFL Films has everything for you there already set up. You get to learn a lot about that program. So what did you learn from that program, and how did it help you?
Oh my God. I was a 7-month intern during the football season. So I had the fall internship, and normally when I think internships, I think like running coffee and making copies and just kind of observing. But when I tell you this program was so hands-on, I worked on the production team for Good Morning Football.
Oh,
So I
wow.
was editing the segments that I would watch them air live the next morning. And I was sitting in the control room and learning social media and watching the director and the producers and just fully being immersed and being a part of all of it. So it gave me a complete feel for the production process, which was incredible because especially I was just about to graduate, getting into the real world, ready to start applying for jobs. It kind of showed me the exact directions that I wanted to go down and directions that I didn't want to go down, like things that I thought I would have liked, but I found myself enjoying other parts of production more. So just being able to see everything from start to finish, talking to people, being treated like I was just a regular employee, even though I was a student. It was the best experience ever. I still talk to the people that I worked with and I interned with, and I miss it all the time. It was unfortunate because right when I ended and right when I graduated was in the middle of the pandemic when
Oh, wow.
everything
Yeah.
shut down. So I kind of had all these high hopes that maybe I could end up back there and at least working somewhere. And when everything took a standstill. So that was definitely tough to get used to, but it did work out because when I realized I didn't really have any job opportunities, that's when I started my YouTube channel. And that's when all of this started. So
Wow.
it was a blessing and a curse at the same time, but it definitely taught me so much and it set me up great to kind of now do my own thing because I know how they're doing it professionally. So I can take those tactics and kind of use it for my own channel and making that grow.
Well, you're doing amazing at that. So
Thank you.
yeah. So what was it like producing content for them for NFL Network and producing them? Because what was it like seeing the stuff you did the next day on live TV?
It was the most surreal feeling. I remember the first time I was editing something and they were like, we're going to put it on the show. Like, you're going to see it. And it was literally, it wasn't anything. Like, it was like 30 seconds it was probably a single player. And it was either like their good or bad tape, depending on what the hosts were talking about. So it was just putting all that together and then watching it live the next morning. It was crazy because they're talking about it and I knew how I edit it and how I put it together. And it was like the weirdest feeling ever, but I loved it. And then it started feeling more normal because they started like trusting you more and more to start doing all of those little segments. So it definitely started to grow a little bit. But it was incredible.
Wow. Yeah. So I want to get to an important topic that everyone should be talking about: women in sports. And I'm a big advocate of women in sports, and I have a team of eight people, and 4 of them are females. So I'm trying to give every opportunity to females to get to where they want to be in the sports industry. So for you, what's it like seeing yourself and Erin Andrews, Carissa Thompson, Kay Adams, Sarah Fuller, first female kicker, Sarah Thomas, first female ref, and I can go down the list. So what's it like seeing the growth of women in sports? But don't get me wrong, we still have room to grow, but I think it's heading into the right direction.
I think so too. And I think it's just becoming much more of a normal thing. And that's exactly the take I have with it. I don't want it to be a thing where it's like, oh my God, you are a woman in sports. Like, I just want to, just because I am a woman, I just want to talk football. Like, this is what my passion is. And I don't really know how I fell so in love with it. Cause like I said, it's not like I played sports or anything, but it's just something that I fell in love with. So I just want to get to the point where, not that we never have to have the conversation about it, because I think it's important to remember where it came from, but especially all the women that totally paved the way and making it what it is even now. But I think once we get to the point where it's not even a shock to see women in important roles in sports, I think that's the end goal for it to just feel totally normal and nobody even has to question it.
And also, what's it like seeing now female coaches coaching male sports, like Lori Lacoste from the Buccaneers, and you got Jen Welter, who used to be a coach in the NFL, and now you see female coaches coaching in the NBA. So what's that like seeing female coaches now coaching male sports?
It's great. And I think it's just the more representation. I think they set the example and they inspire younger girls watching that this is something that they can do. It's not totally out of the question. And I just think the more you see female faces in the sports industry, whether it's broadcasting or coaching or GM and front office positions, the more you can see that, then the more normal it's going to feel. And there won't be as much of a question behind it. And like I said, they're inspiring little girls. So more and more, it can just be something where it'll never feel like a struggle for them. And I think that's another thing that I want to feel important, because when I started getting into this, it's much more normal, but I had people that were like, it's going to be tougher for you because you're a female. And I just never want girls that are growing up now to even have to have that question. I want, if you're good at what you do and if you're knowledgeable, it shouldn't be a question whether of gender, if you can get there or not. So I think the more that we're seeing it, it just shows that we're consistently moving in the right direction.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, how would if there's some negative noise coming towards you guys, how would you deal with that? Like how do you cope with that, and how do you ignore the negative noise that's coming in?
It was definitely tough at first, and I think I found myself kind of sitting in a position where I was kind of trying to cater to everyone. Like I would give my personal opinion on a take or whatever. And then I would find myself also catering to the other side, just being like, but people can think like this. And I've started to steer back from that, because my opinions, especially when you're talking about sports, like any given Sunday, you never know what's going to happen. I find myself just having to trust my gut a little bit, and we're all going to be wrong, male or female. You're going to have a take that's wrong. Nobody can be right 100% of the time in this business. It's just not in the cards.
Yeah.
So once I kind of accepted that and realized that even if I'm right, people are still going to disagree with me. And no matter what you say in this business, people are going to disagree with you. And I think it's healthy. It starts the conversation. I like, as long as it's not aggressive and they're not attacking me, I like going back and forth and hearing people from the other side of things. I like seeing other perspectives. So I do think it's fun. But when it starts teetering on that bridge of, is this a little aggressive? Or are they taking this a little too far? I just stop answering, and I try not to read those comments. And it's been something that I've definitely had to work on and get accustomed to, but it's more just everyone's going to have their opinion. Not everyone's going to agree with you. And it's just something you kind of unfortunately have to accept in this business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so I want to ask you about TikTok, because we've been noticing some. Obviously, it's a popular thing now for you guys and for everyone. But we had a former NFL quarterback on the show, Brad Johnson. He uses TikTok a lot too. So, do you think TikTok is a new way for sports athletes to show their other side of their personality, or what do you think the future of TikTok is when it comes to sports? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so much growth opportunity in TikTok, just because the way the For You page works and the algorithm works, it's a way for you to reach people that you wouldn't normally reach at a much quicker rate. So for me, especially, it's more just giving my takes. I have my longer YouTube videos. I have my hour-long podcast weekly, but TikTok, in a minute, I can sit there and give some takes, give some opinions, make jokes, show my face, get it out there, and it'll grow so much quicker. So it's kind of like all those smaller videos. And then obviously I have my platforms linked and everything. So it's more of a way to just get my name out there, grow the brand. And I think everyone should be utilizing TikTok to some extent, just because of how quickly it can grow and how easy it is to reach people and communicate with people. So when you're using it for the right reasons and the right resources, it's a great way to be personable, to interact, and like I said, to just keep growing, because it will move so quickly. So I think using TikTok is so important, whether you're just keeping up with the trends and the sounds that are currently popular, and tying sports to that, which I found works really well. People like that because it's kind of like that pop culture sports tied along with everything you're seeing on TikTok. And then also just sitting there and giving my personal takes in a smaller, shorter setting, because attention spans are shorter now. People like shorter. So it's just another way to continue to grow the audience.
All right. Yeah. So our team, we're gonna start using TikTok pretty soon here. So to grow the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, I needed some some resource from that. But now what you said, I think we're gonna start using it soon as a team.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your podcast called Onside Shakes, and which is a lit name. I like that name. And
Thank you.
obviously you co-host with Kaylee. And how did that come about? And how often do you guys produce content and do that show?
So we do that show every Wednesday night. We stream it live on YouTube and Twitch at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And then after the video is published to YouTube, and then it's also available on all podcasting platforms, usually within 24 hours. And that all started, we got connected through Twitter. Our producer, Evan, messaged me and was like, I have Kaylee. She's hosting this show. We need a co-host. Like, would you be interested in doing podcasting? And I had never really dabbled in anything live before. My YouTube videos are obviously pre-recorded. I edit them and then I put them up as quick as possible. So I was very nervous at first. So we did a meeting, the three of us, we talked, kind of all got on the same page and what the goal was and what we wanted. And they're both great. Me and Kaylee are also doing another show now with Evan and another guy, Chip, called Fantasy Underdog. So we're hosting that as well. And it's great crew that we have. We have that same humor and the same vibe. So it works very well. But yeah, it started very random once we got connected and we kind of realized, yeah, this is going to work. We started setting up all the social media platforms, got all the graphics, got everything set up. And then we literally just went live, and it's done very well for we just started a couple months ago, towards the end of last football season. So it's been great. And it got me, now I'm a lot more comfortable talking live and talking for an extended period of time. So it just kind of got me out of my little bubble a little bit. It broke me out of my shell. So it's been a learning experience and it's been a lot of fun.
All right. All I can say is I think you're going to be the next Aaron Andrews and Chris Thompson podcast. Have you listened to their podcast?
Yes. It's great.
So you guys are you guys are the next coming of that.
Thank you. That would be fantastic.
Yeah. And also you have I saw recently you had another opportunity with Blev podcast. Take us to that experience. What's that like working with them?
Yeah, so that's the Fantasy Underdogs podcast that we started. Okay. That's through the Believe Podcast Network. And that's been really cool. Just kind of having them to promote and work with us as well. So we're going to be doing that one this football season, Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays before games start, just giving news, headlines, fantasy advice, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's just more content, like we talked about. Just the more you can get content out, it's the best way to do it. So that's kind of what we're doing, and we're just lucky to be with Believe.
Well, so speaking of, let's get to the season and the fun stuff. And what are you most looking forward to as a sports host? And obviously last year we had no fans in the stadiums, but now we're gonna have fans. So what are you most looking forward to, and just seeing fans back?
I'm just ready for some normal football. So I think having fans in the stadiums, it's just gonna bring that vibe back. So I'm so excited for that. I'm also excited, 17-week season for the first time ever. So it's really the longest season of football. So I'm excited to see how that plays a role, how that affects everything. Just because that's going to be interesting. I'm hoping, I don't know if this is going to be the case, but I'm hoping COVID isn't as much of a factor as it was last year. I still think it's going to be, it's not gone. It's still, we're all still living in this pandemic and dealing with it, but I'm hoping it'll start to bring some sort of normalcy and just start getting us back to being normal. And I'm just ready for the constant craziness and the news and everything that comes along with the season.
Yeah, so now we do this fun little segment on the show. It's called the Rapid Fire segment. You ready for this?
Yeah.
All right. How did you become an Eagles fan?
My mom.
Yeah.
In my mom's household, there's no way I was not going to be an Eagles fan. When I was younger, my dad tried to convert me to the Washington side of things, and I did give in for a little bit. But also when Washington wasn't good for a very long time when I was growing up, and not that the Eagles were much better. It's been a long road, but my mom in my ear kind of gave me no choice. So that's how I became an Eagles fan.
Well, so I know you guys obviously with fantasy, you speak fantasy too. So tomorrow night, me and my friends are having a live draft tomorrow night. So any players we should keep a look out for.
So the one guy that I got him in 2 out of my 3 leagues, which I'm super excited about, Darren Waller.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come out and just have this incredible season. I've been preaching it all off season. I think he's going to be tight end number 1 this season. He's someone that'll carry your team. So he is the person that if you can get him, I would.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, what was your thoughts on Cam Newton getting released by the Patriots and Bill Belichick believes in Mac Jones, and where do you think Cam Newton will end up? Because we've been hearing Washington, Houston. Do you think there's a chance that my Dallas can get him?
I was shocked when the Patriots released Cam Newton. I was so convinced that he was going to be able to kind of remake a name for himself this season. I'm a big fan of Cam Newton, so I was excited for that. I wasn't expecting them to let him go and make Mac Jones QB1 in the way that they did. But now that that's the case and that's what we're working with, Washington, I think, is off the table. Ron Rivera said, we're not interested in Cam. We're riding with Ryan Fitzpatrick. They have their QB1. So I think Washington's out. Houston, I don't think they're going to go for it just because they're in this state of limbo with, we don't know what's happening with Deshaun Watson and the case is built up against him. So I don't think they're going to go out and make any long-term moves. I think they're just going to kind of see what happens with the season. I honestly think Dallas would be the best place for Cam right now, just giving the uncertainty that we're kind of seeing with Dak with we don't know how he's going to come back after the surgery on his ankle. That was a very serious compound fracture. And then now you're dealing with shoulder stuff as well. And we saw that offense without him. It was tough. It was tough to watch. So I think if you can get Cam Newton in there, and that's worst case scenario, as much as I don't like the Cowboys because they're my rivals, I respect the hell out of Dak Prescott and I love him. I would never wish anything bad upon him, but I think Cam Newton would be their best backup just in case, God forbid, worst case scenario, Dak isn't up to par.
Yeah, because we haven't had a reliable backup quarterback in the last 6 years. So, so I want to ask you though, funniest blooper.
Funniest blooper.
Yeah.
I had one the other day where I was literally in the middle of talking and I was like in a heated argument and my mic stand right here. I was over at my the other place I record. And all of a sudden my mic just fell off in the middle of me talking. And I don't know how, because I don't have good reaction skills. Like I don't have good instincts. Caught it in my hand, like as I was talking. And I was just like, how did I do that? Because I didn't even like see it falling. It just kind of collapsed on me. But yeah, that was the best one in recent history.
Wow. So how many games will till for Jimmy Garoppolo and Andy Dalton for them to take for Justin Fields and Trey Lance to start? How do you think both of them are on a short leash here?
Yes, I think Andy Dalton much more than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm thinking Justin Fields is named the starter week 4. That's my gut feeling. Jimmy Garoppolo, that's an interesting one. I'm convinced that we are going to see Trey Lance. I don't think Jimmy's going to make it through the whole season, but part of me thinks there's going to be an injury just because there was an injury history last year and he was very back and forth with that. And he's very injury prone. So I think that would be the case more likely. But if anything, I'm thinking around Thanksgiving, if the 49ers aren't in a position or aren't in as good of a position as they want to be in, and you're unsure Lance in. So I think Trey Lance, it'll be a lot longer than Justin Fields. I think we're going to see Justin Fields much, much sooner.
So what would you tell your younger self now?
I would tell her that your plans are completely going to change and it's going to be okay, because I was the type of person where my freshman year of college, like I had all my classes picked out. I knew the exact direction I wanted to go in until the moment I was graduating. And I started college saying I wanted to work at NFL Films, and I wasn't deterring. Like I was like, I won't take anything else. Like I need to get my foot in the door there. So I was someone that was very stick to the plan, and I needed to know everything. And then of course pandemic hits and there's no way to plan at all. And like I said, all of my plans got thrown out the window and everything got turned around, but it ended up working out. And I'm grateful now for the position that I'm in. So I would definitely tell myself to just be calm and let everything happens as it happens. And no matter what, it's going to work out. So I'll tell myself to take a chill pill a little bit.
Yeah. So speaking of, so when you have, what do you like to do on off days, or is it 24/7 work for you?
I definitely have my off days, and my friends who I love dearly know nothing about football, could care less about football. So especially in the summer, I like to give them a lot more of my time because it's the NFL off season. I'm still working like crazy, but it's not as serious as it is during the season. So I love the beach. I love going to the beach. I like just hanging out. My friend has a house right on the bay at the Jersey Shore. So like to hang out there, just kind of be in the water, relax. I'm a Netflix nerd. I watch all the shows. I love reading. So any of that kind of stuff to just kind of take a moment back and just slow down and enjoy life other than football for a little bit. That's kind of what I find myself doing.
So you guys are up in Belmar a lot, right? Huh? Belmar?
Belmar, yeah, Sea Isle City, all that kind of stuff.
There you go. There you go. I love Belmar too. So I want to ask you though, so obviously you're Eagles fan, and everybody's underestimating your team this year. Do you
Always.
think? Yeah. Do you think? I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan, but I respect your team. But do you think that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anytime. Do you think? Do you think you guys can compete? There's a chance. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is starting, but do you think with Nick Sirianni, do you think that you guys can compete in the next 3 years?
I think so. I definitely think so. And this season, I don't have super high expectations, but I am expecting around 8 wins, which is leaps and bounds better than what we saw last year. So I just think moving in that right direction. I love the relationship that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts are building together. And Jalen Hurts has stepped up to show and prove that he is a leader, and he has full locker room support behind him. All of these guys are just putting their faith in him. So I don't think it's going to be necessarily great this year, but I think it's going to be good and better than what we saw last year when we were in that state of pure uncertainty and on the verge of just being in shambles. So I think in the next 3 years, we're going to see this team start to rebuild. And I don't even want to kind of put this out there because I love Jalen Hurts and I think he's going to come out and be exceptional. I don't really have a doubt about that, but God forbid that isn't the case. We are set up with picks and draft capital that we can use to kind of rework and find something that does work. So we are in a good position, and Nick Sirianni has just become one of my favorite people ever. He's quirky and a little off, but like he's our quirky, and he loves football and he loves the game more than anyone I've seen in a long time. And I trust him. I think he does things a little bit different and a little off the books, but I think it's going to work. So I'm excited for us in the next couple of years.
I think, in my opinion, I think he needs to improve on his press conferences first.
His press conferences aren't, like I said, he's a little quirky.
Yeah.
He's a little off, but when it comes to watching him coaching, he seems to be bringing the best out of all the guys on the field, and that's all we can ask for. So if he's a little off in press conferences, I can take it as long as we execute on the field. That's all I need. Give terrible press conferences, but win games, and I won't care.
Favorite music?
So my entire music taste is basically Taylor Swift. I used to have really good music taste, and I liked alternative, and I liked cool rap, and I liked pop, and I liked classic rock, and I had like well-rounded music taste. But now I'm older and all I listen to is Taylor Swift all the time.
Wow. So, so before we get to the last two things, I want to ask you about Corey Clement. We just signed him, and then he used to play for you guys and New York. So I already know about Corey Clement, but what do you, if the other Dallas fans doesn't know about Corey Clement, what does he bring to the team, to the team?
When he steps, he was a fundamental part of our Super Bowl team. So I know how much of an impact he can make on the field. It's just getting him to step up in the big moments. And I honestly feel bad for him. I was upset when we lost him, just because, like I said, he was such a big part of that Super Bowl team and that Super Bowl vibe. I don't think all of the blame was on him. I think there was a lot of uncertainties in our offense. And then we got Miles Sanders, and our run game kind of relied more on him. So I just don't think Corey could find a place in our offense where he fit in. But if he in Dallas, you guys are going to be very lucky, because I know what he is capable of.
Speaking of that Super Bowl, real quick, did you go to the celebration in the parade and all?
Oh yeah. I missed all my classes that day. They either got canceled or I called out. I was like, I'm not gonna be there. Woke up, I think it was 5 o'clock in the morning. The sun wasn't even up yet. And it was freezing. It was February. So we're bundled up, walking through Philly. It was pure chaos, but I saw grown men crying. Like, it was just such a special moment. And we waited outside in the freezing cold for hours upon hours to watch the buses drive by in a minute. But I wouldn't have changed any second of it. I was very happy to be there. The night we actually won the Super Bowl, I was in I live in South Jersey. My friends called me and they were like, we're picking you up. We hopped on the train. We were running down Broad Street. Like, it was just a surreal feeling. And I miss it. I miss that feeling all the time.
Yeah, I got to ask you this too. I know you're a Sixers fan. Do you think Ben Simmons will be traded?
This is a sensitive subject for me.
No,
it's okay. It's okay. I defended Ben Simmons for a very long time. And I've given up on defending him just because I keep getting let down. So I'm kind of in the position where I'm ready for us to move on. I'm ready for him to move on, especially if he doesn't want to be here, which that's been the headlines this week. So I don't know how much of that is talk. I don't know how much of that is true or fabricated, but if he's ready to move on, even if he goes to another city and is an incredible superstar and plays great, I think I'm ready, just because I don't want us to get stuck in this rut where we're forcing something that isn't working. If it is the case where he comes back and he's on our team, I will root for him. I want him to come out and do well. I will never wish anything bad upon him. I'm over the toxic feeling that's around his name in this city right now, but we're just going to see what happens. I have no idea. Normally I can kind of have a gut feeling with how I think things are going to go. And this one, I think it's flip a coin. It's 50-50 whether he stays or goes.
So the last two things here before I let you go, our team is part of this foundation. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach. He's now the offensive coordinator at Tennessee State with Eddie George, and we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe and the kids stay safe. And I'll send you the foundation so you can go check it out.
Cool. That's awesome that you guys are doing that.
Yeah, thank you. And the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers right now?
Yeah, I just want to give them the biggest kudos. My sister, she's going through nursing school right now. And granted, she's going to be a medical esthetician, so she's not going to be working in all the hospitals and everything, but just hearing what everyone's going through and seeing how much they've put on the line to keep us all safe, even in the worst of it, it's beyond commendable. And I'm grateful for them doing everything that they can to try and get us back to normal.
Yeah, well said. And there it is. That wraps up episode 891 with the talented, inspiring Jordyn Erard Coupe. She's a sports content creator, video creator, TikTok creator. She's a sports host, podcast called Onside Shakes with her co-host Kaylee. Go follow her on all social media formats. She's amazing, inspiring, like I said earlier. And Jordyn, thank you for joining the show. It's truly an honor. And you're the next Aaron Andrews, in my opinion.
Thank you. That means the world to me. Thank you so much.
And good luck to the rest of the way. And we would like to have you back on the show at some point down the line so you can meet the full team. But keep up the great work. You're, like I said, inspiration. And keep presenting women in sports. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I definitely love to come back on.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.